The idea of creating a modern national army dates from the first years of the 20th century, that is, the last years of the Qing, an effort seen above all to try to strengthen the state centrally and to domesticate, as it were, the forces of violence at home, and to create a fighting force that, for a change, could defend the empire's borders and, if necessary, put down domestic unrest without having to rely on provincial forces. It started under the Qing, and it was called the New Army. One gets the idea that they were serious about this, since the Manchu officer named Minister of War to run it had been sent to military schools in Germany, married a German woman, and apparently spoke German as well as he did Chinese. Not a very famous guy. His name was Yin Chang, but he did one thing of great importance. He set out a code of military law that was separate from civil law and put soldiers outside of civilian jurisdiction. They still are. Until then, the growth of militarization in China had not meant the lack of civil control. Local and provincial militia and provincial armies were marked above all by gentry leadership, and the heads of the biggest provincial forces in the late 19th century would be first and foremost scholar officials. But the beginning of the new army was the beginning of the idea of military professionalism in China, of military lifers. And this new army no longer looked like a Chinese army. Officers no longer bowed with their hands clasped. They saluted. They wore not gowns, but sharp European-style uniforms with helmets, and for officers, with epaulets and all the trimmings. There were some unexpected problems. What do you do with your queue? That long braid demanded to show your loyalty to the Qing. Do you put it under your helmet, or do you cut it off? After some discussion, you cut it off. The Qing should have known it was a bad omen to have officers cut off their queues. And as it turned out, it was the leader of the new army, Yuan Shikai, who would deliver the coup de grace to the Qing, turning on them in the 1911 revolution and installing himself as the first president of the Chinese Republic. The early republic was, in many ways, initially at least, a republic of quasi-independent provinces, led by Yuan Shikai's former military subordinates who would dominate Chinese political life for over 10 years.